Today we're working on a Black Rose. It's a WPC machine. We turn it on and show you the error that it's getting. This is a nice clean machine. See the boot up? Looks good, but we get this message, check fuse f114, 115. Now we can see that the game seems to be working. He's got LEDs in it. So it's in attract mode. So what could be the problem? Well, the first thing to do is always check the fuses. So first let's check f114, which is right here. Now I got my meter actually set on AC. I've got it on ground, my black lead, and then we can go and we can check on the right side of the fuse. I get about 7 volts, and then on the left side of the fuse I should get about the same, about 7 volts. So the reason why it's AC coming in, so since we're using ground as our reference, we're going to get half the voltage, the actual AC voltage, because we're only looking at half the wave. So that's how you check a fuse without removing it. I like to remove them just because sometimes the fuse crumbles when you do that. It's a good double check of the integrity of the fuse. But you can check them in circuit if you got the game on. Like I said, you know, here's the right side and there's the left side, and if the fuse was bad, we'd have nothing on the left side and voltage on the right. So if you look at the schematics, here's f114. You can see it brings AC into this bridge rectifier, which converts it to DC. So you get like 14 volts coming in and 18 volts DC coming out. And if we follow it over here, we can go to TP8, which is the 18 volts for the lamp columns. Now we know that actually works because you can see the lamp matrix working. But if you want to double check, you can go over here to TP8. It's over in this corner here, and see that we have nearly 18 volts. So that means that this bridge rectifier is good and the connectors are good all the way up to this point. But what we do know is if we look at TP3 over here, which is going to be regulated 12 volts, and we go to TP3, which is this guy right here, right next to the fuse, you can see we have no voltage. So we know the problem is somewhere between here and here. And if you look, it's just this little circuit right here, along with the fuse and 2 diodes. What's the deal? We can always check power at the right side of D2. Why don't we do that? That's an easy thing to do. The banded side of D2 is a little hard to get at. It's actually right here. If I put my meter on it, right there, you can see we got 16 volts. So that's good. Now the only reason they have these 2 diodes here is to get a little bit of a voltage drop across them. You get about a half a volt. That's why it was like 17.5 here, and now it's 16.5 right there. So we know that the problem is right here. We know our fuse is good. It only is these 3 components. That's it. The guy I'm suspecting is C2, this 100 microfarad cap. It's this guy right here. This is the voltage regulator right there. This is doohickey right here, the LM7812. And then you got this cap right here that just loves to fail. And my money's on that's the problem and why we are getting that error message. So what I've done is I've taken out the driver board. As you can see, it's clearly missing. And this is the cap that I suspect is going to be the problem right here. Now, it doesn't look like it's done anything bad. Sometimes it's really obvious. You can see where it's leaked. And there's a discoloration in the green mask. This one, I don't see that. But I bet if we take this out, we'll get a different story. So here's our cap removed. And you can clearly see on the bottom of the cap that I just threw across the board, you can see where it's leaked. You can see the discoloration in the liquid that's come out. Also right here on the board, look at that. You can see the electrolyte has actually deteriorated the board. It can actually, like battery corrosion, much like eat through those traces. So we got to clean that up. I'm going to use a fiberglass pen to do that. So what I did is I used my fiberglass pen here, just clean this up. I don't know if you can see it, but the traces are in fact broken. If I take my meter, I put it here, and then on the round dot, I don't get a buzz tone. So the bottom one, the one labeled plus, is broken. The one on the top, which is the negative, it looks broken, but it actually buzzes out. But there's a real easy way to fix this. Let me show you. But what I'm going to do is put a brand new capacitor in. And by the way, anytime you have this board out, I highly suggest just replacing this cap, just wholesale. It's like a 10-cent part. It's not worth it. Just replace it because these fail a lot. I'm really seeing this happen a lot, these 100 microfarad caps. I have our new cap installed. I leave it a little long, the leads, so I can bend it out of the way, because what happens is this heat sink bakes it. That's what gets it hot and helps cause it to leak. Then if we flip the board over, you can see on the back of the board how I've just taken the extra leads and bent them over and connected them directly to the voltage regulator. And so what I use for insulation here is I just had some spare wire and I just stripped off 3/8 of an inch of insulation off the wire and used that so it doesn't short against this big fat trace here and here. So that helps. And if this connected, I'm betting that we're going to get all our voltages and we'll no longer get that error when we turn the game on. On the top side, again, with long leads on this cap, you can bend them over and get them out of the way. And then you can even solder on the top side of the board. Some guys will just do that to kind of bridge any breaks in the traces, opposed to the running jumpers on the back. I happen to do both. Okay, let's turn her on for the first time. See what happens. Sure enough, we don't get the check f114 thing. So let's just check voltages with our meter up here. If you remember, when we were on either side of this fuse, we got nothing. And now I got 12 volts on that side and 12 volts on this side. So if we go to our test point right there too, 12 volts. So now you can see that our 12 volts is working. So indeed, the whole problem was a stupid little capacitor. The one that's right here. And that's what I'm telling you, if you ever have this board out for any reason, always replace that 10-cent part, because it's going to come back to haunt you sooner or later. Alright, let's try a game. Damn, I suck. One-handed. Man, terrible. Seems to work pretty good.